Let's talk about Kamala Harris. So, Scranton Joe has tapped out of the presidential race. He's taken the baton and he's passed it over. At 81 years of age, with many Americans concerned about his ability to serve for another 4 years, going up to 84 and 85 years of age, people questioning his mental fitness after his performance on the debate stage and after some slip-ups at some high-level press appearances, whether it had to do at the NATO media scrum or otherwise. Joe Biden, seeing the fundraising drying up, seeing the poll numbers not increasing, and seeing consensus within the Democratic Party to switch him out increasing, he has made the call that it's time for him to tap out and pass the torch over to Kamala Harris, who he immediately endorsed. And let me just say, before we get into Kamala Harris and how her campaign's going, this was not necessarily how it had to go. In fact, there are others within the Democratic Party who are not very excited about the fact that Joe Biden immediately went out and endorsed Kamala Harris. In fact, one of those people, or reportedly Barack Obama, who was not too psyched about it and kind of just wanted it to be an open convention, with him thinking that the astronaut from Arizona would have made a much better option for a presidential candidate. But that's reportedly, and we know how reportedly stories go. Either way, it didn't have to go like this, but it did. And with Joe Biden getting behind Kamala Harris, soon everybody else did. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and as of today, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as well. Thousands of delegates have already gotten behind her, and it looks like she's probably going to have the nomination on lock before she even gets to the convention, and actually they get on the convention floor and start cutting this deal and that deal. Gretchen Whitmer, who would have been one of her major opponents, has already gotten behind her, and once I saw that, to me, it was already over. Gavin Newsom isn't going to be able to launch an oppositional campaign. I don't think really anyone is. The Democratic Party's major consensus that has built after Joe Biden fingered Kamala Harris to be the nominee after he leaves, as she's already the VP and it seemed like a natural pick, is that the party wants to quickly unite around her, cause as little discontent as possible, and then send her into the general election. While some are talking about possible contention on the floor of, the convention and people still wanting to oppose her and thinking she might not be the most electable candidate, I think her nomination is going to be locked in. I don't think there's going to be much really way to block her being the nominee at this point. And definitely with the vote being a digital roll call vote, it's going to be much more difficult for them to stop them or get on the convention floor, so to speak, and find a way for it not to be Kamala. So at this point, the nominee is effectively Kamala Harris, which on one side you could say that means there's not going to be any contention and conflict that could maybe pick a better candidate overall. But on the other hand, quick party unity is a strategic advantage in and of itself, and choosing a nationally vetted candidate like Kamala Harris, who can access Joe Biden's war chest of $91 million already, because it is the Biden-Harris campaign, and her being a part of campaign means that she can access that money, means that even though switching out another candidate with Joe Biden comes with risk, Kamala Harris comes with less risk in certain areas for the fact that she has already been vetted so much nationally. And so far, the attack ads on her mostly has to do with the fact that she laughs and can be kind of awkward sometimes. Anyway, the torch has been passed over to Kamala, and man, did her campaign hit the ground running. First off, let's talk about the dollars, cents, quarters, and all the coins of the matter. So the Joe Biden Kamala war chest before this had about $91 million in it. Now that doesn't mean that's all that they have to spend. There are other super PACs that are also bundling for the campaign generally to make hack ads against Donald Trump and to promote people to come out and turn out for Democrats, progressive Democrats, other Democrats, and the DNC just generally. So it's not just that, but that's their war chest specifically. Now, after Joe Biden dropped out and he endorsed Kamala Harris, and those donation links were going up, Kamala Harris broke records for fundraising, like all-time records for fundraising. With her fundraising, I think about $81 million within 24 hours, and then over $100 million within 36 hours. Here it is from Open Secrets. Democratic presidential candidate, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris speaks to. Oh no, this is reading the the image description. Oopsie doopsie. President Joe Biden's decision on Sunday to withdraw from the presidential race and endorse Vice President Kamala Harris galvanized Democratic donors, injecting tens of millions of dollars into a campaign that was rapidly burning through cash. Within 36 hours of Biden's announcement on July 1st, Harris raised more than $100 million, according to her campaign, including $81 million in the first 24 hours. Mind you, this was July 1st, so it's been 5 days since. More money has been raised since, well past $100 million, and the fundraising is only continuing. And let me tell you, if you have ever donated to any Democratic campaign, your phone is blowing up with Kamala Harris texting you just every single reason why you need to donate. Hey, Kamala Harris just agreed to debate Donald Trump. Hey, Kamala Harris just did this record, this cool wrecking of X, Y, and Z. They are pushing it hard right now. Within 68, the 100 million cash infusion would more than double the 96 million the Biden-Harris campaign had in cash on hand at the end in June. Harris's team said the massive haul, which includes money raised across the campaign, Democratic National Committee and joint fundraising committees, represents the largest 24-hour total in U.S. history. Another thing that's interesting about this, though, is that not only is this record-breaking in the amount that is being fundraised within a short period of time, 24 to 36 hours, but is also the type of people that are fundraising this money, including 60% first-time donors. So you're energizing a group of donors who had not, during this campaign, during the Biden race so far, opened up their wallet and donating money, meaning that it's not just about generally beating Donald Trump, but there's also something more energetic about having a younger, fresh face that people are excited for. If you polled Americans before this election, before, the nomination switched over to Kamala Harris, it was clear that the majority of Americans wanted a fresh nominee. And I think that for Democrats who, there was a question in the party of whether they should switch, and for Americans who generally wanted, a different option, this provides at least an opportunity for that. You might not still end up liking Kamala Harris. You might, she's a progressive and I didn't want a progressive option, or progressive relative to, Trump, of course, in comparison to that. Oh, she's too left-wing on this issue. Or, hey, Kamala Harris, she was managing the board. Any number of reasons why you don't end up supporting Kamala Harris. I think her being a fresh, younger face against now a 78-year-old Donald Trump, who is now the oldest U.S. presidential nominee in U.S. history. All those "I'm voting against the old guy" t-shirts are getting sold off real quick in right-wing circles. I think it energized people to get behind Kamala Harris, not only because of the usual reason of Donald Trump, they don't want Donald Trump to win, but also that they see Kamala Harris as maybe a better shot of beating Trump. So you're reinvigorating that anti-Trump movement within Democratic politics. And on top of that, it's a fresh face, and they're excited about a fresh face. Not to mention all of the things you would expect to come with possibly electing the first black female president in American history, the certain subsections of the party that she particularly energizes, the K-Hive going wild, Coconut Mania going crazy. But they're fundraising big numbers that is really not going to make the RNC fundraising coffers very excited, as they're going to have to stash out and throw out more money to counter the campaign ads that are going to come with this fundraising haul. And let me just say, it's not just the big money that is coming in for Kamala Harris. The polling data for Kamala Harris looks really good right now in comparison to what we were looking at before Joe Biden dropping out. Seeing Kamala Harris getting a boost across the board among the vast majority of pollsters. And I could go through polling data after polling data after polling and go through all these points. I think the easiest thing to do would just be to show you guys the data from Fox News that they released just today, showing that Kamala Harris has closed the gap with Donald Trump when it comes to national polling data, and has also closed the gap when it comes to certain swing states, and have even ran ahead them ran ahead of Donald Trump when it comes to states like Minnesota. Listen to this.
Michigan registered voters put her and the former president at 49% each. That's 3 percentage points better than President Biden was performing. In Minnesota, the presumptive Democratic nominee is up and has a 6-point advantage there. They are both tied at 49 in Pennsylvania. And former President Trump has a 1-point lead in Wisconsin. Those results are comparable with the Trump versus Biden numbers. Many of the new polls coming out nationally and in the swing states have been within the margin of error in this new race.
So we're coming from a general consensus in polling that Biden is down. He's down 5 points here, 6 points here across these swing states, to Kamala Harris closing that gap within under a month. I mean, she announced like less than 5-6 days ago, and now she's closed the gap in Pennsylvania. She's closed the gap in Wisconsin. She's gone ahead, strongly ahead, by like 5-6 points in Wisconsin. This is a shift in polling that was quick, that is noticeable not overly at Fox, but is also noticeable over at YouGov, over at Emerson, over at the other polling groups that do this type of data collection. So the polling data for Kamala Harris has improved relative to how Biden was doing before he dropped out of the race. And I'm just saying, this isn't just Fox News. This is a conglomerate of different pollsters. I will also say that Kamala Harris's media teams are blowing up, with Kamala HQ's Twitter account before having only 400,000 followers, now being up to 1.1 million followers, and constantly pushing out tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet after pro-Kamala propaganda piece after pro-Kamala propaganda piece. And that type of social media interaction, while it feels minor, that type of reach matters if you want to get a point out to voters quickly and quickly respond to the media machine that's constantly out there trying to pump out stories that are going to be negative for your candidate on the other side. I also want to say that there seems to be a verbal shift and how the Kamala team is going to walk forward with campaigning against Donald Trump. Let me show you a Biden-Harris when Biden was still the nominee 6 days before dropping out, about how he was talking about the Trump term and how they would affect workers. For immediate release, July 15th, 2024. Statement: workers cannot afford a second Trump term. Biden-Harris 2024 campaign manager Julio Chavez. More than 30 of the nation's largest unions have Joe Biden's back, etc., 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 etc. Moving over to Kamala Harris, J.D. Vance is a creep who wants to ban abortion nationwide. J.D. Vance is weird. Voters know it. Vance is the most unpopular VP pick in decades. This week, we're all finding out how just creepy J.D. Vance and his Project 2025 plans are. A lot more blunt, a lot more direct, a lot more smeary, which isn't necessarily bad, just acknowledging is a lot more mudslingy, just calling J.D. Vance weird, which, I mean, yeah, he is weird. He's a creep. He's a weirdo. The point is that Kamala Harris is taking the front foot. They are not staying on the back foot, just preaching of, oh, you know, post with all the political tension. Let's reel in the attack ads. No, she's going forward, stepping forward. It seems that the Democratic Party that pulled attack ads post-assassination is not going to be in that mood for very long. I also want to say that this financial momentum, this energy among the Democratic base, with now the vast majority of Americans thinking it was the right decision for Joe Biden to do what he's doing, the polling momentum, Kamala Harris's social media just exploding online, the change in tempo of how they're campaigning, Kamala Harris probably being able to run a much more, let's just say, aggressive campaign trail, probably making more campaign stops, more speeches. So it's not just going to be like one speech every day. Not even though at the end, Joe Biden was really pushing to a lot more than that. That's also going to be a challenge for the Trump campaign. So I was very interested to see how the Republicans were going to respond to this quick shift in momentum, especially since a lot of people are starting to second guess the J.D. Vance appointment, with Kamala Harris's chances improving very rapidly and J.D. Vance really not offering much on the campaign trail. So I went to go see how Donald Trump was handling the situation, how he was going after Kamala, what type of counterpunching he was going to do. And this is the type of stuff I found. This is from the Newsmax stream of Donald Trump's recent speech.
Lion Kamala is also a total radical on a word called, do you know this, right? A word called what? Abortion. She's a radical, crazy person. Lion Kamala.
Okay. Number one, he was totally going to say abortion. He was not. He was going to say abortion. Okay. He was slipping up. He was about to say abortion. Number two, why is he talking like Dora the Explorer? You guys know this. What's the word, everybody? Abortion. I feel like he was just giving him time to remember what the word was. Abortion. Okay. Thirdly, lying Kamala is not a good attack. He did try again. I just, with somebody who's pretty well known for his ability to come up with quick, punchy nicknames, I wanted better than lying Kamala, and he did come up with a better one. Okay, no, he didn't. Not a better one, but he did come up with another one, laughing Kamala.
From the moment we take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden and Kamala, I call her laughing Kamala. You ever watch her laugh? She's crazy. You can tell a lot by a laugh. No, she's crazy. She's nuts. She's not as crazy as Nancy Pelosi. Crazy Nancy.
Honestly, I gotta say, this right here is kind of sad to watch. Because to me, this is like me watching Muhammad Ali, like during his last few matches, where you could see his brain registering the punches coming at him, right? But he just can't dodge. He doesn't have it in him anymore. He doesn't know how to throw the punches to make them snappy. He just doesn't have it. He's just been hit too hard. He's been hit too long. And he just, it's the end of his career. And he's just throwing out a few more. And so it feels like that with these names. Because cackling Kamala was right there. What's better? Laughing Kamala? Lying Kamala? Or if you're staying on the laughing thing, cackling Kamala. Cackling Kamala. Cackling Kamala. It's easy to say. It's fun to say. It can catch on. It can catch on easy. But no, laughing Kamala. Oh, I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris. She laughs. She expresses joy. Cackling, though, that I don't know, that maybe gives off more of a mad scientist vibe. Maybe a little bit more of an unhinged vibe than just laughing does. Point is, Donald Trump is off of his game. He's off of his game right now. But this isn't the only attack after Kamala Harris because, after so much time in the position, you'd think they'd have more ammunition against Kamala. And they're taking time now to go back and try to dig up some of the more progressive positions he's had. For example, I think one thing that might actually hurt Kamala Harris on the campaign trail is that at one point she did take an anti-fracking position. And in the state of Pennsylvania, where fracking employs quite a lot of people, that could be something that damages her campaign. She did reverse that decision when she was running for president in 2020, but that's not what's going to be in the attack ads that play in Pennsylvania. It's just going to be her saying that I unreservedly am in favor of banning fracking. See, these are the things that could actually do damage to Kamala Harris, but these are not the things that are being focused on when it comes to mainstream television. And it certainly was not the first response opening salvo for the Americans who were trying to determine their opinion about Kamala Harris. Most of the opening salvo was either she laughs or it was this. She's black and she was chosen for the job because she was black, not because she was, the DA, not because of her time as a senator, not because of any of that experience. No, not because she was able to get some support on the campaign trail in 2020 and actually get up there for a certain point, like a 5, 6, 7, 8 person race with like 15, 20 points, something like that at her highest point. No, it's simply because DEI hire, which is starting to just feel like their special word for saying she's black, I don't like it, ew, ew, ew. And so, I don't think that's the case for everybody, but the way it is just being used, just like over and over and over verbatim, to just explain the fact that she's black and she's in the position and that makes you uncomfortable, it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable. It's starting to make me feel uncomfortable. Listen to this.
Obviously, you compare him to President Biden, who is muddling his way through speeches. People know he couldn't go more than
better, right?
Yep, couldn't go more than 15 minutes. She's very good on the prompter. No one even doubted that. She had 3,000 people there. Why are they there? A lot of them have to do with, hey, I'm a Democrat. I thought we were going to go down in flames. Now we have a shot. But the problem with Kamala Harris, number one, she has not had her record exploited heavily because people thought and marginalized her. Even in the Democratic Party, they said, wow, what a bad choice Joe Biden made. Number two, is she hasn't sat down for an interview. When she sits down in an interview and says, do you want to fund ICE? Where do you stand on Medicare for all? Why didn't you show up? The most recent decision, already you got a question. She will not show up for the Prime Minister's joint session of Congress.
She became the nominee 6 days ago. The fact that she hasn't sat down for an interview, I think, is more of a time issue. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure she'll do an interview
Today, she'd rather address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority, like she can't get out of that. So that's her decision, and that's her decision to back up the protesters.
And how about the border? When they ask her about the border, I haven't been to Europe either. Remember, she said that she's the border czar. She didn't go to the president. She didn't go to the border, and now we're learning that two of the border chiefs, the last two border chiefs, she hasn't talked to.
Oof. Can we go back and listen to this one part again?
The protesters address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority.
A what sorority?
A sorority, a college sorority.
Look, all I'm saying, and this is just my piece of advice for Republicans, maybe you should not focus on that. Maybe, like, if she just would have said, oh, why are you talking to a sorority? And they all you're talking to with this college stuff, when you should be talking to the Israeli Prime Minister. Focus on that. I disagree. Focus on that. Why does it matter that it was a black sorority? And why did you say it like that? And this isn't the only stuff we've gotten like this. Here's another example. Here's Representative Harris saying that Kamala Harris is intellectually the bottom of the barrel and that she is a quote-unquote DEI hire.
Well, I think she's one of the weakest candidates I've ever seen in the history of our country. I mean, intellectually, just really kind of the bottom of the barrel. And from the standpoint of just who she is and the policies, the positions that she's taken, her failure to do anything in terms of the border, that sort of thing, I think it's just a failure from top to bottom. I think she was a DEI hire, and I think that that's what we're seeing. And I just don't think that they have anybody else. I just think that they're in real disarray.
A DEI hire. She was district attorney for San Francisco. She was senator from California. She was able to get a following during the 2020 presidential race to make it that she had leverage in order to get within the Biden administration. She then served as vice president for 4 years, dealing with some of the most contentious issues of the Biden administration. And she's a DEI hire. She doesn't have the experience. Donald Trump was president for 4 years. That's the entirety of his political experience. He started right at the top and then fumbled. I mean, for example, I know like one route of attack was talking about early VP Harris's like amount of turnover in her administration, in her VP office. Donald Trump's turnover was basically the entirety of his staff because he was going through John Bolton. He was going through Rex Tillerson. He was going through press secretary after press secretary after press secretary. I mean, like, he was doing this because of a lack of political experience in choosing the people for these positions, and he didn't prepare a transition team before the results of the election came in. And when he won, he had to scramble to get a transition team, and he relied on a bunch of other people to pick people for him due to his lack of political experiences. And then he got a bunch of people he did not like, leading to high turnover, leading to bad implementation of policy, because every time they fired somebody and replaced them, they had to get acquainted with that position. And instead of working on policy implementation, they were working and figuring out how to do their basic job. A lot of times when somebody gets elected for the first time in Congress or the Senate or even in local government, the first year of them in their job is just figuring out how to do the job. And then everything from there is them trying to build up and see where they can improve that job. JP, thank you for the $2. Test 1212. Sorry, it is $5 donations for audio tests, but I appreciate the $2 donation. Look, this started to get so bad, them going after her for essentially being black as VP, to the point where House GOP leaders were like urging their party members to stop going after her for this. In an election where the Republican Party has already cut its minority outreach office and 1/3 of the RNC staff after the Laura Trump takeover of the RNC with other co-chair people of the RNC. They are not in a position where they can try to marginalize black voters more, but making it seem like the issue isn't Kamala Harris's policies, but that the issue is the fact that she's black. And that is what is coming off when you complain about her going to a black sorority, or you complain about the fact that she's black, making her a DEI hire. The only area that I can see that this stems from in any capacity is the fact that Joe Biden said he wanted to have a female VP, and then he wanted to have Kamala Harris, so he picked Kamala Harris. But she wasn't just chosen because of her identifiers. She was chosen because she has experience, and she has much more than Donald Trump. And so if people want to talk about, DEI hire, she doesn't have the experience. Bull. If you support Donald Trump and you're saying that, that's bull to me, because it's one thing to say, well, maybe I don't like the fact that Joe Biden said he wanted to pick somebody from that group. And it's another thing to say, oh, she doesn't have the experience. And that's where the DEI hire thing comes from, is that she wasn't qualified for the position, when she is still yards above the qualification Donald Trump had before he took the job. So don't talk to me about qualification for the job if you voted for Donald Trump, which the whole point of voting for Donald Trump the first time around was he's the Molotov cocktail for the establishment. He is not full of experience. He's somebody who's going to come with an outsider perspective, and he certainly did legislate like an outsider, somebody who didn't really know how to maneuver the levers. But point is, House leaders are saying, please stop going after her for being black. This is not a good idea. House Republican leaders told lawmakers to focus on criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris's record without reference to her race and gender, following caustic remarks from some Republicans attacking her on the basis of identity. During a closed-door meeting Tuesday morning, chair of the House GOP campaign arm, Richard Hudson, and others issued the warning after a series of comments by their members that focused on Harris's race, as well as the claim she is a DEI pick, according to two people in the room. In the 48 hours since President Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race, Republican leaders have tried to train their criticism of the presumptive Democratic nominee on her handling of the border and are planning to skip Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech before Congress. But several Republicans immediately took the criticism in a different direction. Representative Tim Burchett said Monday that Harris was a DEI vice president, and Representative Glenn Grothman, Republican from Wisconsin, over the weekend questioned if Democrats are sticking by her because of her ethnic background. If nominated, Harris would be the first Black and South Asian woman to be a major party nominee. Look, this is nothing when like hitting her on the campaign trail. This is not going to work in stemming Harris's popularity. There's not going to be a voter who was like, I'm with Harris, and then is like, wait a second, she's black. I had no idea. I'm not going to vote for. I don't think that's going to happen. Because I think it's kind of obvious that she's a black woman, because you can see that she's black. So I don't think that informing everybody that she is a black woman is going to swing the swing state voter against her. So I don't think that's an effective attack ad. If anything, I think it's just going to energize black female voters, which has been referred to for many years as the backbone of the Democratic Party, to turn out more for Kamala Harris. I also do not think that going after her for laughing is going to be that effective. I think that for some people, maybe they remember making certain, like, I've seen a lot of like pretty sexist stuff about Kamala and like sexual favors for advancement in politics, completely made up nonsense being pushed. And I don't think this is going to have the effect that many Republicans might think it will. Maybe they remember the Hillary Clinton election in 2016 and they made comments about her and then she lost and like, oh, see, we can just do this again. Hillary Clinton was historically unliked. We do not have that same thing with Kamala Harris to the same extent we had that with Hillary Clinton, with the made-up minds from like decades of dragging Hillary through the mud in the eyes of the public, either through the Benghazi hearings or other instances of like public smear campaigns against Hillary Clinton. Not to mention genuine policy differences that one could have sustained with Hillary. And so they haven't had the time to do that to Kamala Harris. They just haven't. And so currently all they've got is not even cackling Kamala, it's laughing Kamala.
A curd is a curd.
And that
gas, fix her money, and let them show how racist they are.
Hey, JP, thank you so much for the $5 for the fixer money. I appreciate that, buddy. So far, all they got is that she laughs, that she giggles, that she goes tee-hee, and that's basically it. That she laughs and that she's black. I think that if they concentrated more on stuff like her previous positions on fracking, even if she changed her mind, that's going to be a lot more effective. So I think the House GOP leaders might be on the right track when it comes to trying to guide their party. Whether or not the rank and file follows them is another story. Leave Kamala alone.